Grab your pre-workout and turn up that volume. It is time for a new episode of the Powerlifter's Den with your host, Cam Smith. What's up, Powerlifter's Den family? Want to rep the podcast and look good while doing it? Check out my official merch store at plden.company.site. We've got tees, hoodies, beanies, hats, and more, and gear that'll keep you motivated in and out of the gym. Every purchase helps support me and the podcast and keeps the den growing strong. So whether you're hitting a heavy squat session or just lounging in style, we've got you covered. Head to plden.company.site and grab your merch today. Listen, I don't have a beard. I've got this glorious mustache. But even this stash deserves elite care. That's where Wicked Wolf Beard Co. comes into play. Their oils and balms keep the face fuzz fresh, soft, and ready for action. No crusty cowboy nonsense here. It smells great, feels great, and makes me look more like I lift heavy things. Beard, mustache, or something in between, Wicked Wolf's got your mug covered. Wicked Wolf Beard Co. Respect the stash. Head on over to Wicked Wolf Beard Co. and use code PLDEN for 25% off your order. Shout out to my guy Bear over at Summit Performance Therapy, the only person I trust to scrape me, needle me, and massage me, and fix my squat at the same time. If your joints sound like microwave popcorn, or you've been limping since Tuesday's deadlifts, Bear's your guy. He knows lifters, he is a lifter, and he's got magic hands, dry needles, and a deep understanding of how to not let your body fall apart. Book a session and tell him the PL Den sent you. Summit Performance Therapy. Reach your summit. Powered by Bear. Literally. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Powerlifter's Den. I'm your host, Cam Smith, and this is going to be episode 100. So it's a pretty special episode. I want to have a pretty strong motherfucker on here. Justin Zottl, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey guys, Justin Zottl, lift out in Niagara Falls, Just Be Strong Gym, the strongest gym in Canada. Fight me. Powerlifter now for 11 years competitively, strongest Canadian powerlifter of all time, number 2 ranked squat in my weight class. So trying to put that up one more.
Yes, sir. So I think to get started, it's good to get a background on everyone. I know, obviously, you said you're the strongest Canadian powerlifter of all time, which is very cool. Accolade to have, but I know your background started with being a champion cyclist, so maybe tell us about that journey from being a high-level cyclist into the powerlifter you are now.
Yeah, man. I mean, I grew up as a cyclist. My dad was a big influence. He still coaches, for Cycling Canada. Raced around, had a lot of fun doing that. Won my first national championship at 16. And, continue to develop that, develop the training methods, develop, kind of that weird, sick love of pain that we all have in this sport, and I think that's kind of one of my biggest contributors to being a good powerlifter is I like when it fucking hurts. I like those rough sets where you're like, oh man, I don't like this. And you get through, you're like, oh man, I feel really good about it. Developed, did a kind of like a neo pro junior year on a affiliate to a professional team. And I just burnt out that year. It was like the worst year of my life. I quit. I got really fat. Cycling was my whole identity. And I lost it and I gained, I forget what the exact numbers were, but it was a substantial amount of weight. I finished the season like 160, 165 pounds. That was in September. By January 1st, I was well over the 240 mark at that point in time. Because I'd lost everything. I just ate my feelings, all that kind of stuff a hormonal teenager will do. And I just started out weight training as a New Year's resolutioner. I was doing the Jim Sapani shortcut to shred, training in the middle of the night, and just started really liking pushing weight. And the more I pushed, the stronger I got. And, human beings, we like doing what we're good at, right? And quickly found myself playing football and rugby and having all this sort of fun. Kept getting knocked out playing football because I don't tackle right. And I like leading with my head. I got a big head, so I wanted to use it. And finally won too many trips in the ambulance, just kind of sidelined me, and I refused to leave the gym, joined a powerlifting gym, got really easily, manipulated into doing a powerlifting meet. Squatted 6, benched 345, and pulled 6 at my first meet. And was like, hey, I like being good. So I kind of kept chasing the numbers from there.
Yeah, and obviously going from cyclist into powerlifting, like that same competitive aspect, but just kind of knowing how cycling goes, like obviously leg strength is huge. So,
Yeah.
And obviously you have the second heaviest squat. So kind of going into that, is that something that like developed super quick, or is it something that like you said, just had a crazy base?
Absolutely. I mean, you look at the numbers, right? Like for being a 242 and kind of always like a middle 242 as I was at the time. Having like no disrespect to anybody, but like having a 345 bench when you have a 600-pound squat, like that's a pretty big difference.
I
You know, what I
feel
mean,
that.
those not proportionately similar. I had the balls to try a 400-pound bench that day and got absolutely stapled, and then I punched the floor out of protest. You know, uh, but it was a big thing, and it did progress quickly. And I mean, for me, realistically, I haven't squatted 1,000 pounds yet in a competition, and having the second heaviest squat in my weight class is cool. But I'm still like 40 pounds behind the record. But then I look at my bench, and my bench is like below a bunch of 220-pound dudes and some 198. So for me, I still feel like it's the same difference.
Yeah, and it's something I relate to too. Like, I mean, I'm probably not going to be in raw for a few more years, but I mean, I squat in over 7 in reps, and I still haven't hit a 400-pound bench yet. So, like, I know the
Yeah.
struggles of being pretty good at squats and sucking at bench.
Yeah, it's like it's a weird thing being good on the front end and the back end because you race out to a lead, you hold on for dear life, and you hope a deadlift specialist doesn't pass you in the end, which they always do. But
Yeah, so I guess kind of going from kind of that transition, but tell us about maybe your first meet experience and kind of um, how that gave you outlook on powerlifting.
yeah, it was super cool. My first meet was like a pro am provincials, which like provincials for us is like a state championship for Americans, and it was you didn't have to qualify. It was my first meet. You didn't have to qualify. You just showed up, right? And it was just a gym. We had one rack to warm up on. None of the plates matched. There was no deadlift platforms. There wasn't even a deadlift platform on the platform. It was just rubber flooring. It was actually really cool. It was my first time actually running into a now former client of mine, Maxime Boudreau, and he was there. And I remember him just like walking in the back, sniffing ammonia. Didn't speak really well English at the time, or he didn't care to listen because he wasn't listening to his commands. He jumped the press command every time. Did 500 for 3 reps basically, and left. Right. And it was super cool. It was one of the first times, kind of like you build that camaraderie of the sucks people into powerlifting. I think. It was the first time, meeting people who became lifetime friends. My first meet 11 years ago, I still talk to these people and see them around, to this day. And I think that's kind of what got me sucked in, honestly. Like, yeah, I like being good at things, but being kind of immediately accepted into that community was a much bigger part of me just sticking around, I think.
Yeah, 100%. I think that time and time again, you talk to everyone in powerlifting that's been in it for more than 2 to 3 years, or just there that's not there to just do it for Instagram. Like they make
Yeah.
lifelong friends. You make hundreds of friends. You make really close friends. You make friends
Yeah.
that like I've gone to people's weddings. I've gone to people's cookouts. Like we hang out outside the gym. It's more than just lifting weights. There's so much time and effort put into it that just the general respect you have for each other as a base level just kind of gives you a good start.
Well, I also think it's like, how they talk about, oh, it's not the degree that counts, it's the fact that it shows that you stuck through something.
Yeah.
I think that's very similar in powerlifting. When you see somebody, you continuously see them, or even in the gym when you're working out, first kind of see a guy, you're like, okay, that's a random dude working out. You see him again for a couple of weeks, by the second or third month, you have that guy's name and probably a way to contact him, right?
Yeah.
It's the same kind of thing. It's like you prove that you're in it. Well, you're probably a committed person that, I can probably, develop some sort of friendship with.
Yeah, and it's like some of the maybe if you do meet for a few years, see him a couple of times, and then you go to it like the third time or something. You're like, oh, wonder where he is this year or something like that. And you're like, oh, maybe
Yeah.
he fell out of love
Oh,
for
it
it.
it happens to me all the time. I've hit on the head a few times, but I'll be at a meet. I'm like, I know that person's name. I have to know their name, and I've never met them before. I've just seen them so many times. I feel like I should know who they are, right? So that's always an awkward one. Be like, who are you again?
Yeah, especially when yeah, if you go to so many meets and stuff. Like obviously, I'm traveling around to different gyms, I'm going to a bunch of meets
Yeah.
for my crew. I'm going to local meets, just trying to obviously get the experience and grow the podcast and things like that. And you always run into people again. You're like, fuck, I can't remember their name.
Yeah, I need what was that movie? Devil's Wear Prada. I knew that assistant to just tell me people's name and walk around with me.
Yeah, then I guess as far as just in general, what are your best lifts?
Yeah, so I mean, in competition, let's be real. I squatted 953 pounds at the American Pro 2. Was geared to take it. In my head, I should have taken it in my last couple meets, but injury, setback, and fatigue kind of limited me to that. I do have a 931-pound sleeve squat. Which I'm much happier with. 843-pound deadlift and a 545-pound bench.
Yeah, I
So
mean, that's crazy just because, I mean, your sleeve squat is literally my multiply squat. So just imagining, I know what that weight feels like on my back. I can only imagine what it feels like raw.
I'll be real with you, man. It was a weird one because I was prepping for the Clash of Titans 2, and it was a wrapped meet. And for all intents and purposes, I squatted 1,000 pounds in the cage on a pretty fatigued day. I was coaching the pro strongman the day before. My back was just tuned up. I was warming up, and I told Craig, I'm like, we should probably change the order because I think after my last warm up, I'm calling it. Like my back's just grenaded. Luckily, I'm a really close friend of mine. My best friend, his name is Matt Alboy. He's my massage therapist. You'll see him in pretty much all my videos. And he kind of saw the doubt on my face, kind of like looked around. He's like, all right, well, we're going to let him out of the cage now. He just grabbed my headphones, just kind of tapped my heart. And he just reminded me, he's like, your daughter's watching the live stream at home, right? And I'm just like, get out of my way. Let's go.
Yeah.
It's game time. Literally, it was a snap. Like if you watch my second last one was like 900 pounds, moved like shit. I'm like, oh fuck. All right. And I literally called my next warm up. Would have usually been 1,000 plus. I went to 930, and I'm like, that might be it for the day. And I blew it up, and it was great from there. But what had happened in that prep was, 3 or 4 weeks later, I did a tune-up meet at home because I do think it's important that I do compete at home. Because while the competitions don't have the same standard or pizzazz or production quality that they do in America or in Europe, I do think it's important that I do show my face at home, right? So I did a tune-up meet. I did like you go back and watch. It was like an RP 8, maybe an RP 9 day, depending upon what lifts you watch. But because I was training in wraps, when I switched down to my sleeves, everything went really easy. The 931-pound squat, you can really see me in the hole. I smiled. I was like, "Oh, this is easy. Let's go." Right? And it didn't feel that heavy because I think because I was loading the heavier weights on my back raw leading up to it, that when I stripped everything out and put 70 pounds less, I'm like, "Oh, this is fine."
Yeah.
Right?
So
This is easy.
I guess, what do you kind of explain what you mean by a tune-up meet and maybe what the purpose is for you?
I'll be real with you. The purpose was to pay for my hotel, and I had a bunch of clients doing it. I'm a very defensive person of my people, and there was people running around saying my gym wasn't the strongest in the province. So I loaded up, a couple of my clients. One guy named Liam, he's done 2 meets, total 2,100 at both of them.
Oh,
Doesn't really
shit.
have a desire to train beyond that very much. He like shows up to the gym like once a month, blasts a bunch of stuff out, and goes home. We don't see him again. We're like, how do you do it?
I
Like,
wish.
I need your plan.
Yeah.
Sell me your stack, please. I got another guy named Tyler. He's a super young guy. He'll be a force Strickland for years. He did it with me. I had 3 girls just go in there and just absolutely murder everybody in front of them, just to kind of like put respect back on the gym name. So I kind of got baited into it, as I do sometimes. But there was no real like intelligent reason to do it. I should say it was more like an ego. Let me show you my wiener type of day. So.
Yeah, well, sometimes you gotta join the pissing contest when it's presenting you. That's kinda, at the end of the
Yeah.
day, we're all a bunch of meatheads. We like to kinda let our dick swing sometimes, so just you gotta let it
Yeah.
happen.
Oh, and it was I think I did as well as I did that meet because while I felt the pressure of doing well, it was also a meet where I'm like, I'm just going to do RP 9, you know. So even my third bench, I only benched like 529 that day, and it was one that it kind of pissed me off. So I got halfway up and I just stopped trying. I still got it, but like, I'm like, you stupid! Like that was supposed to be fast. Like I'm like yelling at myself in the back room. Meanwhile, everybody else is like, dude, you just benched 530 pounds. That was insane. I'm like throwing my belt like, you idiot. What did you do that for? Right. But I think it took the pressure off and let me have some fun, because I think in anything, right? Like when you invest as much time as we do into this, whether it's 2 hours a day or whether it's 24 hours a day, you did invest a lot of time into it over the course of a 12-week prep. And for myself, like I don't view an off season or peaking. I'm always in prep, right? Because if I let the foot off the gas, I just find I lose it. It's a mental thing for myself. And when I gave myself that freedom just to be like, hey, we're going to have some fun, we'll see what happens, then I PRing my total. I'm like, oh shit. Okay, that was a lot of fun. And then just I held the peak for way too long. So you got to remember, I hit the 1,000 in the cage at the start of March. I competed at the end of March, early April, and then I tried to peak again at the end of April, and I was just cooked. I remember warming up at Clash of Titans and taking like the way I usually warm up is I'll do a bunch of like prehab, rehab, muscle activation stuff. Because for me, I find genuinely that if I squat anything below 500 pounds, my form's different. I can't squat the same way. So my first squat's 500 pounds, second squat's usually 770, third's 880, and then I throw my wraps on and go.
Oh shit.
I took my first squat, and my legs were dead, and I'm like, just one more plate, please. Let's do this. Go to 600 pounds, still dead. I'm like, we're doing all the activation stuff, and I never found my legs. I wasn't, I was burnt out, to be honest. And so yeah, I probably would have done a lot better Clash of Titans having not done all the side quests. But at the same point in time, when Animal calls you up and asks you to squat 1,000 with your good friend, you're gonna do it,
Yeah, and
right?
I think kind of on a bigger scale by like you said, doing one of these tune-up meets or going to the cage, which we could talk a little bit more about. It keeps things fresh. It makes it because once you get to that pro level and you're chasing these numbers, whether it's a certain number on a squat or a certain position on your weight class leaderboard or something on the ABS rankings or just anything in that like pro competitive level, you kind of lose yourself in the moment of like, why am I doing this? And I think it's a
Yeah,
good way to kind of step back and be like, all right, this is why I love powerlifting.
absolutely. I mean, the biggest thing, like I said earlier, like there's two reasons why I think people actually love powerlifting. And then there's a third reason why people think they like powerlifting, right? The reason why they think they like powerlifting is Instagram,
Yeah.
right? Like, oh, I got 100 likes on my bench video. It's like, no, you just showed your ass in the intro, and then people liked it. All right, they don't care. All right, I'm just being honest with you. But the reason why I think they like it is first and foremost, it gives them a sense of control. Right, like I couldn't bench 100 pounds today. I trained for 12 weeks. I was able to bench 100 pounds. I was better. I'm better now than I was then. I think people really gravitate towards that sense of control because there's no real control in this world, unfortunately, for people, right? And then the other reason is the community, like we talked about earlier, and competing at home, competing in front of, just a crowd full of people that I know, that I coach, that I'm friends with, that I've known for a decade, just kind of let me fly. So we're gonna be trying to replicate that kind of mental process, leading into my next couple meets and, see if it works.
Yeah, and touching back a bit on the cage, obviously that's something that's been going on for several years, and
Yeah.
there's hundreds of amazing clips and just insane lifts being pulled out of that.
Yeah.
Things that people have never been able to even replicate in their own career at that point. And so, maybe tell us about the experience with that. Obviously, being with all these high level guys, and just tell us about what that environment is like competing in that cage.
Yeah, so this is my second year doing it. I did it last year with Fernando Arias. We both squatted together. And going into it that year was a really emotional thing for me because I'd been through, a decade long career. I'd, split with my ex-wife and, had to rebuild and didn't think I was going to get anywhere near where I am to this day. And, kind of, when I went to walk into the cage even, I go to walk in the cage and I just found myself pausing at the entrance because there's a little like gap in where the cage is, right? I just kind of paused and it was like one of those things where like it was like my body's being like, "Are you sure? Like this is like we're going in, right?" I just kind of felt a hand on my back and kind of a little push. And it was just basically, I turn around and look and it's TD and he's like, "All right, let's go squat, boy." And he pushed me in the cage, right? And I'm like, "Okay, I guess I'm in now,
Yeah,
right?" And that first time I put a lot of pressure on myself and to perform, and I, really kind of worried about failing in the cage, and being scared of that failure. And I completely squatted ass backwards. I kept my chest up way too high the whole time and I ended up failing like 975, super embarrassingly, like 2 inches from lockout. And it wasn't even a fail, it was I stepped to the left.
oh
I still set up under my own power, but like I stepped to the left. In my mind, as a perfectionist, as a purist, that was just a complete failure, right? So I felt like a big goof. I felt like a big dummy, as you would when you don't know what it's all about. And you go step foot out of the cage, and everybody's like coming up and man, that was crazy, great job. Like they're talking to you like in your head, like, did I actually make that squat? Like what the like right? And they don't care, because they get it, or if they don't get it, their mind's blown that they can't understand what just happened,
yeah,
you know. And so I took that, to heart, and I messaged Steph, kind of midsummer, like, hey, listen, like if you're willing to have me back, it'd be an honor to come back, try to take a run at that 1,000 pound squat. And I kind of got a message back right away. She's like, yes, let me talk to people, but probably.
yeah,
So I kind of just started getting my mind ready to do that year, and going back in the second time and being able to do it with another close friend of mine, Craig Foster, and both kind of like, hey, we're going to run this 1,000 pound goal together, you know. And the whole goal was 1,000 pounds, 1,000 pounds. That's all we talked about, and kind of walking in the cage and kind of seeing it and being familiar with it and understanding this group of people. Like the second time I walk up to the cage, everybody's attacked. Oh, hey, Justin, give me hugs. How you doing? All this stuff. I'm like, once again trying to remember everybody's names and like, okay, I got to figure this out, right? Um, and then just being involved in that family, like all these elite lifters just stay in the cage all weekend. Like unless we have like other like responsibilities, like when I had to go to Cerberus or barefoot or whatever, or go coach the strongman, you know, I'm sitting there and I'm watching. I'm a fan because that's at the end of the day, if you're a power lifter, if you're a strongman, if you're a fan of what you're doing. And
Yeah.
when people are doing incredible things, you're gonna be there. And I was in the cage when Theo Maddox tried to pull the 505. You know, I was in the cage watching, the girls rep out crazy squats. I was in there watching Andy Van rep out crazy squats. I was in there watching, Ken Cooper, deadlift and, seeing him come back from his story of him, destroying his legs and coming back and being, better was really cool to see. But then also like being in the moment, like, hey, it's my turn. They put me Saturday right in the prime time spot with Craig. You look around, you can't see any floor. Just people are everywhere around you. I asked ChatGPT something that they got a video of me up in the VIP booth and took a picture. I asked ChatGPT, I'm like, how many people are in this picture? And they say anywhere from 1,600 to 2,000 people.
Yeah, that's
I'm like,
sick.
well, that's the most amount of people that ever watch me powerlift in person, right? And then yeah, just like being part of it, getting the squat, doing it with a very close friend of mine, squatting the 1,005 with them, was just something that was super super cool. Considering what a lot of people that don't understand if they haven't been in this for more than 2 years, is that back when we started, there was no content for powerlifting. You couldn't consume any vision. You could read a magazine, right? Or you could read a forum, right? The T Nation forums, whatever you wanted to read back in the day. But there's nothing we could watch. The only thing we could really watch was either Mark Bell or the animal videos.
Yeah.
So I grew up on the animal videos. I remember all the old Road to the Cage videos, and then to be in that position where like, hey, I'm in the videos now. Like they flew a camera crew out to my house in Canada to come and film me and my wife and my daughter, at my gym, and now that's me. Like that was a really cool moment for me.
Yeah, one of the cool parts about powerlifting too is the when you get all these high level competitors in the room together, they're all kind of like fangirling over each other when they're all at the same level, and it's just so funny that you can see how much people appreciate others' accomplishments in the sport, which is something that in like other sports you just do not see.
Yeah, like on Sunday, they were dumb enough to give me a live microphone. Uh, and I'm sitting there and like I got Evan Singleton in the cage and Sam Bellivo, another former client of mine, going after, record circus dumbbells. I got Andy, launching his squat. And by the end of it, I'm sitting there trying to talk on the way home and kind of like regroup and talk to my wife and Matt and his wife about what happened. And my voice is cracking. I'm like, what's going on? They're like, well, you were screaming all fucking day, Justin. Like, you don't have a voice, because we are fans of the sport. Right? I think you have to be to get far in the sport. Like, if you don't enjoy it, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah, 100%.
You know. But no, it's the animal cage is one of the coolest things. If people can go experience it, go and see it, go and watch it, and just figure out what it's all about, it's one of the coolest and most genuine powerlifting experiences. I know it's not a meet. I know sometimes the lifts aren't a standard, and that's okay. In this circumstance, nobody's taking a record. Nothing counts. It's an exhibition lift. It's okay, but it's the most raw powerlifting experience. Just people in there who love powerlifting, who love heavy weights, who understand what it's like to be on the other side of the cage. Who will take the time to talk to you and share stories or a meal or a drink or whatever it might be. That's what the animal cage is.
Yeah, and I remember, I forget, I think it was Phil Herndon posted this. It was like a picture of him from like like several years back of him like on the outside of the cage, and then it cut to him like inside the cage, and it's kind of like cool to see one of those full circle moments. But I kind of want you to
Yeah.
walk us through that moment of that 1,000 pound squat.
Yeah, so I was sitting there. I was just kind of going through my mental cues, like, "Hey, we got to do this." And I used to be a lifter where if I bent at all my form, I broke. Like I was either getting convincingly or I was stapled. There was no in between. And I kind of stand up and I sit there, and Matt kind of sees it in my eyes. And he's kind of walks behind the platform, and right behind the platform was actually a former client of mine, Chess. And Chess had taken a little bit of a break due to some personal issues. And the night before, he's like, "Hey man, listen." And he told me he was coming to Columbus. He said, "Hey, you get this squat, I'm back on the team."
Oh shit.
Right? And I'm like, I love this dude. This dude's a gangster. He got in a car crash when he was a teenager, ripped his bicep completely off. Still powerlifting, still benching the force. He almost squatted 7 as a 220 in sleeves. He's a good dude. I love the dude. And he's sitting there with a friend of his, and I look over to my left and I see a bunch of my friends and clients that I've known for ever. I hear people from my gym behind me screaming, you know what I mean? And my best friend's lining me up. My wife's still running the mono, and I got friends all around me, right? And I'm sitting there like, hey, everything's got to be perfect. Okay, drop your ribs, get your lats in, set your big toe, right? Find your midfoot, and let's let this fly. Let's let this fly. And I'm sitting there, and I like getting the crowd hyped up. So I take my Monia, I fucking scream into the crowd, get them flying, and get myself back. And I've learned to temper that a little bit. So you'll see me quite often. I'll just open my mouth, and you'll think I'm just opening my mouth. But I'm actually saying calm. And I'm just not like, dude, calm down. Like, don't get too hype. Just chill. And I'm about to take my ammonia, and I guess well, she's gonna be my wife on Sunday, but
Oh
my
shit!
fiance at
Congrats.
the time, thank you, Alen, she had gone up to William, the one MC. She's like, how? Like, she's like, because everybody kind of saw the doubt in my eyes with my back, and she kind of looked at William, and she's like, "Are you willing to cross the line with Justin potentially?" Like she's like, it might be too far, and Eric Schwartz, the one MC Animals had forever, is like, oh hell no, I'm out. Like I'm not going near the. He's like, I know how much that guy fires up, like when he gets pissed. So no, I'm not doing that. And Will was like, yeah, bet, tell me. And so she told him what to do, and Ray's about to take my ammonia, and I'm a big ammonia fan. I
Me
drag ammonia like nobody's business.
same.
I got kicked out of the zone booth because nothing. Like I was like trying all their products, and nothing was doing anything for me, right? And he grabs my shirt and he's like, "This one's for Ellie." And I didn't even take my money. I threw it and I screamed and I grabbed the bar and I'm like getting ready. I'm getting ready to go. And I go to try to line myself up under the bar and I'm like, no, that ain't it. And I come back and I'm like, there's something wrong with my belt. I'm looking at my belt. My belt's in the right spot. Like everything's perfectly fine with my belt. I just can't brace. And so I just crank it and I can't crank it. I'm fighting with the fucking belt. Like it won't latch. I'm like, motherfucker, right? It's a great belt. It's an awesome belt. I love the belt. Don't know what his problem was. And I finally laughed it, and you can actually see in the video I just smiled. And in that moment, I had like a 5-minute conversation with myself about like, dude, how right is this moment? You failed last year, right? And I gotten so much better. Like, not everything has to be the same. Like, blah blah blah. Like, it doesn't need to be perfect. Nothing has to be perfect anymore. And I'm like, this is how it had to be. And I grab under the bar and I'm like, tell myself calm. And I go to unrack and I didn't lock my knees out. I didn't take my breath in. I just stood up, right? And I finally locked my knees, like, you stupid idiot, just do this right. And I'd smashed my head on the bar before.
Yep.
So I started feeling kind of the blood coming down my face, which was a new thing for me. And as I'm squatting down, I kind of hitting the hole and I'm like, hey, you got this. Because the doubt always creeps in,
Always.
right? The doubt always creeps in. No matter how sure you are of a lift, no matter how much your programming proves you have it, no matter how much last week proves that you have it, you're always doubting, right? And so as I'm coming out as I'm hitting the hole, right, and I come out of the hole, I'm like, holy shit, we're going. And I just remember last year immediately failing, right? Just failing to lock it. I'm like, you can even see me close my eyes. I was like, close my eyes, like, please don't fail, right? And I lock it, I rack it, and I kind of like turn around. Everybody's cheering for me. You know what I mean? It was one of those moments. Just take a second to thank God for keeping me safe, keeping the spotters safe, and just kind of like, oh, right. And it was relief because for me, right, the joy and the experience and the honor was being asked to go,
Yeah.
getting that nod, because being an animal lifter means something. You can't just be strong. Like animal's not going to have you in the cage if you're an asshole and a piece of shit person.
Yeah.
They're just not going to do it, right? um and so that was an honor for me, you know and then kind of turning and seeing all my fellow lifters, people that I still look up to this day, sitting there on their feet cheering, and then seeing the look on my wife's face when I'm just covered in blood. I was expecting to hug her or kiss. She's get the fuck away. Right? That was a super cool moment. Hard to keep the emotions in check at that point because it was a lifelong dream of mine. I wanted to go into the cage, and technically have the heaviest squat. I share it with Craig, and I believe Dan. I mean, technically Dan has the best squat workout. He doubled 1,000 in it. I got 5 more pounds on him. Not saying I'm stronger. Definitely squats way more than me. Got him. But yeah, no, it was just a super cool moment, super emotional moment, and then you just don't want it to end.
Yeah.
It's one of those things you just like you hold on to, like, do we have to go? Do we have to go? And then it was super cool seeing the fan response. Walking through. I had to go do some obligations afterwards, and walking through, and a guy stopped me, and I was kind of taken aback by it. What the fuck do you want, right? So can I have a picture? I'm like, oh shit, yeah, for sure. Let's do it, right? And then all of a sudden, you have a lineup, and you're like, oh, this is really really cool. I don't get it, you know, but a super, super big honor for people to, kind of look up to me and say they've been following me for years. And, it's a cool thing being on this side of the hill, because I do know that I'm, kind of heading towards the proverbial light for powerlifting. It is a super cool thing.
Yeah, and I think that moment, obviously, like there's been less than 400 people ever in history to squat 1,000, whether it's in multiplier, raw, and just to be able
Yeah.
to do that,
Well,
whether it's
I think in raw it's less than 25.
yeah, I think so. In
Like
sleeves, I
raw with
believe it's
wraps, less than.
5, and then with wrapped, it's probably like 40 or whatever.
No,
So
I think it's like 25 or something like that.
yeah, so even if it's not competition, it doesn't really matter. It's still an
Yeah.
amazing moment to be able to share with people that you
Well,
not only looked up to, but also friends and family.
the thing for me too is like there's no like for me like when I lift, there's no questions. Like I'm burying that motherfucker.
Yeah,
Like I don't. I'll be honest. Like when it comes to squatting, I don't wait for the judges' lights. I'm already if I got to the rack, I'm already celebrating.
yeah,
I don't even judges tell me I squatted deep. Like there's times when like I think I cut a squat high and I'm still 3 inches deep, and I'm like, oh. Like you'll see me kind of like turn sometimes, like, oh, am I good? And everybody's like, yeah, you smashed them. Like, yeah, I knew I got it. I just didn't know if it was high or not.
yeah. And I think that we can kind of dive into that a little bit. I know you're big on keeping like lifting standards kind of the same and not
Yeah.
overcomplicating them. So, what do you think the biggest standard that you think is slipping today?
Jeez. That's a good one. I mean, there's a few of them. I mean, depth is an easy one.
Yeah, that's the
I
one that
mean, I
always
mean,
comes up.
but it's not hard. Like I've been a ref now for 10 years. It's not hard to ref. I'm sorry. Like it's a difficult pressure filled job, and there's people in your way. Don't get me wrong. I agree 100%. And there's a lot of really great high level referees, right? There's also a lot of people who are great referees, but when the weight gets above a certain number, turn into spectators,
Hmm.
and they're watching the lift in terms of the performance, and they're not watching the lift in terms of the movement. Right? And it's very frustrating for me. Like I genuinely have a belief that if you're setting a world record, it should be unquestionable.
100%.
I'm blind as shit. I should be able to do this and take my glasses off and look and be like, good lift, great job,
Yeah.
right? There's some federations in some countries that do the sniff test for depth. Like, yeah, smells like you hit it. What the hell, right? Or even lockouts on deadlift. That's another one, right? And the ramping and the hitching and what they consider to be a full lockout is more of a strongman issue than a powerlifting thing. But in powerlifting, it definitely has to be depth, and it's always been depth, which is a frustrating thing because we have so many. I'm sorry, fucking nerds in our sport. Somebody has to have a device figured out by now.
I've said the
That
same thing. I was like, dude, it wouldn't be that hard, but and I've thought about different ways of doing this, and like obviously my perspective from the multiplier world is like it's a issue in itself, and it's kind of one of those things where it's so ingrained in the culture to where it's like, what do we even do from here? But like at the same time, I think at the end of the day, like multiply squats are always going to be a little bit higher. That's just how it's going to be, and I think
but,
that
but my question on that is, does it have to be that way? Or do you take weight off the bar and actually get the standard? Because I get frustrated when I hear, well, the reffing's different for multiply. Well, it's the same rule book.
yeah,
It's hip crease below top of knee, sorry. Yes or no? It's not no, but
yeah,
no, it was yes or no. And that's what's frustrating for me is because coming from that generation where we're like, we did read the West Side magazines, we did buy the West Side DVDs, we did do all that stuff, right? And yes, they were squatting high back then. I'm not saying they weren't, but what I'm saying is that now, being a guy that's getting older, understanding that if I want to keep going, I'm probably gonna have to put some gear on, right? I'm gonna need the help, right? It's very frustrating to watch something that's so like to me, it's like if you're powerlifting in gear, you're not doing it for likes or Instagram.
no,
You're just not.
no,
You're doing it because you love it, right?
exactly.
So if you're doing it because you love it and you love it so much, why the fuck are you cutting one of the cornerstones of a lift? That'd be like being like, don't worry about pausing in bench. It's a shirt. No, there's still a press command,
100%.
right? So it's very frustrating being somebody who values it and works with so many different body types, right? I have very short people with very little muscle mass. I have very short people with a lot of muscle mass. I have people who are overweight. Everyone can hit depth. I don't want to hear it,
100%.
right? And it's very frustrating when people just don't and they don't care.
Yeah.
Right? Like, oh, I'm going to set a world record, but I'm going to hide in this federation and squat really, really high. But I got it on open powerlifting, so hopefully social media doesn't see it.
Mhm. And so my opinion on it is that, I mean, obviously I've seen plenty of multiply squats. I've done multiply squats. Yes, there's
Yeah,
been ones that have passed. There's been some that are, I guess, technically high that I'm like, all right, that's okay. And I know that's kind of a twisted
yeah,
opinion on it, but at the same time, I've seen so many videos of multiply squats on Instagram, on Facebook, wherever the fuck they post it, where I've seen it in person and it's been good and it looks stupid high on Instagram. So like I think there's a obviously I think it's still an issue, but
yeah.
I think that's a bigger disconnect that makes it appear way worse than it is.
So like I thought about it and like I think about lots of things, but I'm not that smart sometimes, so who knows, right? But I always thought it'd be a smart thing to do where if like we went to, kind of, keepers of the sport, people that we all look to as authorities, whatever it is, get, 9 or 12 of them and basically say like, hey, listen, if you're gonna get a world record certified, you know what I mean? At different times of the year, it's gonna be different people, or maybe they just pick it out of a hat, like, yeah, I'll look at this record, whatever it is, and then they certify it. You know what I mean? And to get a world record approved, you have to have 3 video angles, right? I'm sorry, it's doable. It matters that much to you, we're gonna figure out a way to do it, right? I'm sorry, but when you watch myself squat, there's no questions, right? And I'm a tweener, I'm a fat 308 or a light super heavyweight, I don't know what you call it, right? I'm not hearing this fucking, "It's hard to be a super heavyweight and hit depth." It's not, right? Sit your ass back, stop pushing your knees forward, you're probably gonna feel better for it too.
Yeah.
Right? And it's difficult, man. Like it sucks because like you look at world records and like, it's you look at certain world records that are standing right now, like within my weight class, and it's like, why the hell is that there? Right? And then you look at the other lifts later on in the day, and it's like that total shouldn't count. You ramped your deadlift.
Yeah.
So why does I don't care if you squatted it, you didn't get a deadlift. I'm so that's the nature of the sport, right? It doesn't matter if you scored 40 points in the first quarter, you lost the game.
Yeah, and I think the standards in terms of like the other lifts too are that's where it's like it's so much easier to just be consistent and correct with those standards. Like I guess like like a raw squat depth, like sometimes it's so fast, like it might be close and you can't even fucking tell. But
Yeah,
a lockout is a lockout on bench. A lockout's a lockout on deadlift. Like if you can't see that, if you see soft knees or ramping or like you said, soft elbows, and there's just so many things that
yeah,
it's so obvious to be like, that's a red light. Why are you giving
yeah.
them a white light?
Yeah, that's why I made the joke about, nerds. It's like I mean, the easiest one that I can think of is like a leveling sensor, like basically like checks off when you go, but then people are gonna fuck with it and move it and like fuck with their singlet, you know what I mean? But like fuck, there's gotta be a way to like put a slow motion camera review just to like check it, or you know what I mean, or like some sort of review. I mean, the easiest thing to do is figure out a strategy and run it as a shadow in the back while you have your normal refs doing it, and
Hmm.
just see how it lines up with the calls.
Agreed.
Right? That might be the easiest way to do it. It's easy to sit here and bitch and not really have a good solution for it. It's more fun that way.
Yeah.
It's a lot less stressful that
But
way, I
so
guess,
I
right?
do have kind of a counterpoint to the whole slow motion thing because that's something I've considered before too. But at the same time, if you think about it in like just in sports in general, there's refs in sports and stuff, and we have
Yeah,
our refs too. We don't have that review book and things like that where it's like obviously if there's a holding call, you can throw the flag, get a penalty. But
yeah,
like in real time, like if you shouldn't, I saw a post or someone talking about like, oh, is this like their training? Is this deep enough or whatever? And they're slowing down their videos, and like that's not realistic. If you watch it in real time, like what a judge is going to see, and they would pass that, then that's a good lift. If you're slowing down the lift, you're kind of giving the judge a false sense of what they're actually seeing in real time.
yeah. But the to counter your counter, all touchdowns are reviewed by an officiating committee in New York.
Yeah, yeah.
All
So
records, all records should be reviewed, in my opinion. Now, here's the thing: people get pissed off though. Powerlifting all you want, guys. It's a free database. These are volunteers doing it for free. Shut up. It's not on them.
yeah,
Right? To me, it's on the lifter, right? You fucking know. I'm sorry, right? Like even at that tune-up meet that I did in Burlington, um, I didn't hype it up as much as I should have because I thought my third deadlift was a shit lockout. I felt the bar slipping in my hand, right? I talked to the head judge about it afterwards, and he's like, the knurling on the right side was completely worn off. Everybody was slipping in the right hand. It's why I was giving quick down commands. He's like, so if you got it up there under your own power, I'm giving it to you. I'm like, okay, that's fair.
yeah.
If that was a world record, I would have said, fuck off. Don't even look at me. right? It was only an improvement on my total by like 2.5 kilos, so I took it and just shut up. But if that was any sort of like real record that was going to like be an issue, the answer is no, right? And we saw the USPC actually do that with the squat this year, right? They
Uh,
gave it to him on the day, let him celebrate, and then went back and reviewed and said, not good,
yeah,
right? Was that the right thing to do in hindsight? Maybe, but it did create a precedent where we can now say, hey, like, listen, here's a camera angle that shows it was way high, or here's, his ass coming, here's daylight under his ass on bench. All right, well, then you didn't get the lift, unfortunately, right?
yeah, and I think there's so many like good opinions, and there's so many different ways to approach it that it's like a. I'm just got I like to sit back and kind of just absorb everyone's opinions on it and try to. It's like my opinion's a very fluid thing right now to where I haven't
Yeah.
been in it long enough to kind of really set. Some people are like, all right, you know what, whatever, let the people squat high, have fun.
Yeah.
Other people are like, no, I want these strict standards.
But
I
those
want,
are also usually the people who are never going to be close to a record that matters.
yeah,
Right? I'm not trying to be I'm really not trying to be an asshole. I'm not. But like when you put fucking 14 years of your life into something and somebody's pissing on the foundational standards of your sport, that'd be like, okay, for you, it's going to be just go to the end zone. I'm going to go to the 5 yard line. Cool.
yeah,
No, like we both have to get across the line. And if like once again, we do become about obsessed about the sport. You're going to track your nutrients. You're going to take things that are going to take years off your life. You're going to do all this stuff, but you're not going to care about the standard of what you're doing.
yeah,
Like I'm sorry, I'm sorry. There's nobody in my circle that squats high, right? And it's not because I'm like, oh, you squat high. I don't want to talk to you. No, it's because if you're going to dedicate that much to your life and not give a fuck about the standard, I'm worried about the rest of your life. I don't want to be near it, to be real.
yeah. It,
You
it
know?
does definitely have some more kind of like bigger picture things of like, all right, if they're letting them, if they're not being disciplined in this aspect, like where else are they slipping up in their life?
Yeah. I mean, I posted about it after, that one particular record that was taken back by the USPC, and it gained a lot of traction. That's not why I posted. Something sometimes I just post things without thinking. I get a lot of shit. They come down pretty quickly because I get a smack on the back of the head from my wife, who's my quality control department sometimes. Uh, but it was just one of those things where I think it resonated with a lot of people because it is frustrating.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody can disagree. That's not even the people who are squatting high can't disagree. That's not frustrating,
yeah,
or whatever, rounding the standards, right? Um, but I don't know if there's going to be a fix. I don't think we're big enough for there to be a matter for there to be a fix. Because I mean, if we really want to talk about it, go look at the IPF. I think I didn't watch all of it, so whatever. But I saw a lot of clips at Sheffield's of like really poor lockouts last year on deadlifts. Right. And these guys are supposed to be the guys who, hold the standard, right? And even they're doing it. So it's like what's gonna give, right? Or is it one of those things where like in a hockey game, we're just gonna let them play. Right. You slash to me, my buddy slash your buddy, even.
yeah.
Don't worry about it. So if everybody's it just needs to be consistent,
100%
right?
consistency is
Like if this is
always
what
the
the
answer.
standard is, just keep it consistent, right?
Yeah, and I think that's something that comes up a lot with us in the multiply. It's what's going to be the standard of this meet, and like
Yeah.
at the end of like yeah, there's some bigger picture issues there, but at the end of the day, that's all that should matter in that lifters thing. Like if I'm going to meet where a 2 inch squat, 2 inch high squat's going to pass, why the fuck wouldn't I squat 2 inches high? I'm just being
Yeah.
you're just taking away from your own total at that point.
Yeah. Well, especially in the confines that meet, and like I think that's the one cool thing is like, and not to ride them too much, but like with abs, right? They're really big on this is a competitive day,
Yeah,
right? And they even tell you, like when you stop, you're not going to probably have your best total here. The meets can be done in 3 hours,
yeah,
right? We're going to staple your ass. I walk in there being like, good, bring the tough judging on. I don't care, right? And then all of a sudden I'm sitting with my opener and I'm there for 5 seconds waiting for a start command. Like, did she already say it? Did I miss it? Right, then I hear it, I'm like, "Oh, let's go,"
yeah,
right? And I'm like, "Hey, why did that start command take so long?" Like, "Oh, we saw you shaking a little bit." "Oh, shit. Alright, okay, here we go. Let's figure this one out, boys," right? So now I'm, like, holding my start command for 7 seconds before I start my set just to be ready for it, right? Because for me, I'd rather it be that way. And that's a personal thing. I don't expect everybody to hold that same, you know, uh anal retentive view, I guess, but that's where I am, right? And I can't expect other people to follow it all the time. And that's why, I'll spout off about standards once in a while and I kind of shut my mouth again because I'm like, I can't change everybody. I'll just, be a good influence within my sphere and hopefully, enough people listen.
yeah. And I think that's what the at the end of the day, with the professional athletes, like you just adjust whatever it is. If it's more strict, all right, lower your opener, whatever,
Yeah,
bury it, fucking hold it, whatever you need to do, adjust to it. If the standards are a little bit loose, cool, go for an extra jump that you maybe didn't think you're going to have that
yeah,
day. Because at the end of the day, we're trying to get the biggest toll we can. If we're at a competitive meet where there's prize money or a title or a belt or whatever the fuck you
yeah,
want to get the win. So it's like just adjust to
yeah.
what you have.
Well, I even remember I was at a, I'm not gonna say what meet it was, but, there was a lot of equipped lifters there, and Greeno was in there, and a squat passed, and I was thinking my lifter, she was, like, 4 lifters out, and so, like, she was kinda just in her, like, getting ready zone, and my wife and I, we coach, we have our team, we coach all of our athletes together, so Alen was dealing with her because she's not a big, like, ragey, brouhaha, kick down the door and get them type of person, so I just kinda go, "Shut up," because I don't know what that's like, and I was watching this girl squat, and, like, I swear to God, she squatted, like, 3 inches high, and I shook my head and turned back and looked at Sarah, and all of a sudden I hear good lift, and I guess I don't have a very good poker face, is why I don't play. I guess it just read on my face, and Greeno just walked by and, like, lifted my chin up. He's like, "Not here." He's like, "Just don't do it here." I'm like "That's normal here?" He's like, "Yep." I'm like, "Okay, alright, this is what it is." And I looked at Sarah and I'm like, "You squat to death. No bullshit. Right? Not on this team." And she did, obviously, but, it happens, man, and I mean, the other thing too, right, at a certain point, like, I have to think to myself, like, is it hypocritical to say it's okay for the beginners to do it? Like, hey, man, hey, somebody's mom, good for you. Come out and squat. It's all good. You know what I mean? I think being the line of the sand is just records. If it's a record, it should be undeniable.
Yeah, I think
If
that's
you're
where
the
they can get a little muddy in the stuff where it's like you want people to stay in the sport and have fun and not it to be like super hard ass. But when, like you said, it's a record or like one of these top level
Yeah,
meets, like an ABS meet or like the WPO for in Holy
yeah.
Wars and stuff for equipped, like you want good standards because this is the best of the best competing, and you want not only to have it be undeniable for any of the people lifting, but just for people that are watching it and being like, oh, this is what powerlifting is. This is the standard you have to hit.
Like I was head judging a local meet recently, and people are getting off because I was giving the press commands, and people are getting off the bench and looking at me, and I'm like, go back and watch your video. I wasn't motionless. I'm not even like looking at them. Like I don't even care. I don't care. Like it was bouncing. Fuck off, right? But there's this like girl that was benching, and she was like 11 years old, and she like jumped her press command. I saw her ass come off, and I saw her feet go up, but she got it. And I just like flicked the white light on, and both side judges gave them red and stared at me. I'm like, I'm sorry. I just really wanted her to get it. She's brand new to the sport. I want her to keep doing it. And they kind of looked like Justin. I know, thank you. You did the right thing. I'm sorry. Like I flicked it to red like shamefully afterwards. I'm like, yeah, fuck, wrong light, my bad.
Yeah,
Shit,
I mean,
right?
because at the end of the day, we're all humans, and we're all like, we're still supporting people. Like, yeah, it's competition, but like we've
Yeah.
all said with powerlifting, it's one of the only sports where you actually want the person you're competing against to like outlift you.
And genuinely, man, like what an excellent point. Like it is frustrating, because you'll see it at the bid meets, right? I can't specifically speak to the women's side of things because I'm not, personally a lifter in that side of things. But with the men, I think back to the American Pro too, and just we're in the warm up room and it's me, Phil, and Pat McGuire, and we're kind of sitting there and kind of owning one monolith, kind of looking at each other, and we're almost all doing the Spider-Man thing, like you go first, because we're just being polite. We're like, oh man, no, you go. Dude, no, I've been in my wraps for 10 minutes. No worries, buddy. You go. I got this. I'm sure my pinky toe will reattach later. And it took Shane Haller to be like, okay, Justin, you're going, and then Pat's going, and then you're going. You're going, Phil. And then we're in the warm up room, and I even remember in the bench press, I was sitting there, and like I said, we talked about I have a very disproportionately low bench, and Chad Penson does not. And he was, I was opening after them. I'm like, yeah, I got him. Fuck you, Chad. You 220-pound dude. Fuck. And and you're sitting there, and all of a sudden I look at the start order after, the weigh-ins are done, and he's after me. And I'm like, did you change your fucking bench? And he's like, yeah, I did. I'm like, so I'm the fat chick in the group. And by the way, this is all right before we're about to take our opening benches. And you think we're all sitting there, chewing bricks and, headbutting each other. And we're all sitting like, so I'm the fat chick in the group. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, so I'm going to come out pissed off, 310 fucking pounds, right? And I'm going to bench. I'm going to get all angry. I'm going to bench it. And then here comes your skinny ass looking hot as shit, doing more, right? We're all just sitting there laughing. We're all cheering on each other. And I even think back to abs this year. Like I said, I burnt out really bad I felt really guilty, spending all this money, taking this time off work, missing time with my daughter. And I'm kind of sitting in the back room in the back, and I'm just trying to process and figure out. And, my team knows to kind of just let me do that when I need it. And before it used to be super, toxic and unhealthy. And now it's kind of turned into like a, hey, let's find some grace and give it to ourselves as best we can. And I feel like shit because I can't remember his name, and I should have got his name in that moment and taken a picture with him. And he's a Polish lifter, and he saw that I was just destroyed, right? Because at that time, going into that meet, let's just think about it, right? I just squatted 1,000 in the cage. I just blew up a 545-pound bench in training, and I made my PR deadlift 843 pounds look like a joke on a platform. So for all intents and purposes, I'm chasing the world record total, right? I think it was 1025, 562, and 881, and it was all reasonable based on those lifts, not on everything else. And I just sat there and I was just pissed with myself and upset and gutted and embarrassed and all these emotions. And this Polish lifter who barely spoke English, and I apologize if you think he's speaking good English. I'm retarded. I'm sorry. And he just pulled up a chair and he sat it right in front of me in the back room where everybody else leaving around. And he just looked at me and he's like, I'm not leaving until I see you smile. And it took me selfishly a while to do that for him. But that was another lifter who we met 2 days prior at weigh-ins, you know, giving me that grace, telling me like, "Hey man, still a big fan, still appreciate you." And these lifters, they all take care of each other. I think about when I tried, I'm an idiot, and I tried cutting 40 pounds
Oh God.
to get down to 275 because last year in the winter I had squatted 900 pounds in sleeves and I was super sick, and I had all these reasons why it was so much harder. I had put myself through so much worse, and I'm like, hey, be really smart? Let's fly to Miami, cut 40 pounds, and try to take the 275 world record. Bombed out.
Yeah.
And I just remember, Craig and Shane and Pat and all these guys just like going up to my wife and being like, "Hey, like if he needs anything, like this is where we're going to be tonight. We want him there. We're not going to bug him right now because we're the last people he probably wants to see." And they're the ones who are checking in on me.
Hmm.
These are my fellow competitors. And that's when I talked about earlier about the community being such a wonderful thing. These are lifetime friends. Some people to the outside be like, "Oh man, it's probably like the WWE. They probably hate each other." It's like, no, man, it's actually like the WWE. We're all friends in the back room,
Yep.
you know, and it's such a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah,
You
and
know
and
what?
that's
What
the
a,
that's the shit you remember in powerlifting. Those are the moments you remember. You'll remember that guy from that meet more than you're gonna remember any lift in your whole career.
I even remember the first Ghost Clash. I had messaged Dan Bell earlier in the year. I'm like, "Hey, man, there's this particular big meet. Let's do it again." He's like, "No, fuck that bitch. Let's go do Ghost Clash." And I'm like, I didn't get invited. He's like, dude, shut up, give me a minute. And then all of a sudden, the meet director was messaging me like, hey, you're invited, congratulations, right? And so I'm like, great. So I was prepping for it, and then my wife left, right? And I was kind of like done. I was lost, so I didn't know what the hell was going on, and I wasn't going to do it. And a friend of mine was like, so hold up, Justin, just bear with me here. You're not going to arguably the biggest meet in the world this year that Dan Bell personally got you invited to because your feelings are hurt, right? And they're like, either you buy the plane ticket or I'm going to right now.
Yeah.
And so I ended up going, and I'll be real with you. I went there with the idea like this is gonna be my last meet, kind of exit gracefully, focus on being a single dad, do all that stuff. And I go through the day, and everybody's super kind and supportive. And I didn't really take it in at the time, but I watched my warm up videos back afterwards through that kind of, um, that's that lens of time, and I was kind of watching the warm up after, and every single one of my warm-ups, either Shane, Pat, or Dan Bell was spotting me. Dan wouldn't let anybody else go near me. He took care of me that whole time. And I didn't have a great meet. I had this idea that I was going to beat Shane Hunt head to head. Dumb. I lined up all my thirds to beat him, even though I had no business doing them. Dumb. Went like 6 for 9. But I left, and I'm like, it wasn't being good at powerlifting that I loved. It was these people.
Hmm.
These are big dudes. Like Shane took the world record that day. But I never met him before. I never met Pat before either. But there they were, making sure this nobody from Canada whose feelings were hurt was taken care of on their day, right? And that's how it is. And I genuinely wish more of the public and more of the upcoming lifters could see that, because I think we both seen it more often than not at these local meets. people are starting shooting darts at each other across the room, and it's like, y'all fighting over a 440-pound squat. Shut the fuck up,
Yeah.
right? Like, if we can do it at 1,000 pounds, you can do it at 400 pounds.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, but I think let's flip the script here because I know you
Yeah.
said it's okay to be an asshole when you peak. So let's unpack that and what you mean by that.
No, you asked what a myth that was I wanted to debunk. It's not okay to be an asshole when you peak.
Okay.
I've been both sides of it, right? Listen, we talked about it off camera earlier. Not going to get into it, but we both know there's very good reasons for me to be an asshole
Yeah.
early on, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, not good reasons, dumb reasons, very dumb reasons that made sense why I was an asshole, right?
Correct.
Um, I think a lot of people decide like, hey man, I'm going to blast this compound. It's a four-letter word. Not going to say it. Bad for you guys. Don't do it. And they're like, oh, I'm on it, so that's why I'm angry. It's like, yes, you willingly put a substance in your body that alter your hormonal balance. That's not a free ticket to be an asshole. That's the same logic, genuinely, that, well, it's okay, I got in the car crash. I was drunk.
Yeah.
No, it's not. You willingly did the thing that made you that. And people want to do that. Now, listen, am I going to sit here and tell you that I'm perfect in prep? I got 30 people in my gym, probably more, and a wife who will tell you, no, I can be prickly, right? But you have to understand that and talk yourself through that,
Correct.
right? And give yourself mechanisms with the people around you. Like, hey, man, listen, if you see me kind of like getting red today, just you have the right to tell me to shut the fuck up. You have the right to tell me to take a walk, right? And I tell it to every person in the gym, like if I'm being a little bit, frustrated or whatever it might be, or life's getting to me and I'm doing this, you have the genuine right to just tell me to F off, right? Go for a walk, right? And I've gotten better and better. It's a much bigger difference from, where I was back then to now. And it's going to be a bigger difference moving forward, right? Just because you're on gear does not give you a license to be a raging dick. Just because you squat 1,000 pounds doesn't mean you have a license to be a raging dick. You don't, right? We're all people. My time on the platform is just as valuable as somebody's mom's time on the platform, right? Don't get it twisted. We all pay the same gym membership, right? You're not just because you're a national level or a world record holding or heaven forbid a federation record holding powerlifter does not mean you're some god that is, alleviated from following the rules of being a decent person.
Yeah, and like you said, with like obviously the compounds and stuff have an effect on your mental state, but at the end of the day, like you still need to be a good person. And if you look
Yeah.
at the best lifters, like Dan Bell's a perfect example, one of the greatest lifters of all time, one of the
Yep.
nicest guys of all time. He's not a dick. He
Yep.
has no ego. He can outlift fucking everybody and their mother. Like it doesn't
But
matter.
but that's the thing, right? Like it's one thing for you to say, like, and that's why I don't genuinely say I'm the greatest Canadian powerlifter of all time, because I think that's honor other people bestow upon you, right? You don't hear John Hack saying it. You'd never heard Dan saying it, right? You just don't. And you know who hasn't said more about them than anyone? Those two guys. Because I don't think they've ever said the words, right? Maybe once themselves quietly, and I'm sure they both probably felt shame when they said it, right? But there's more people who will go, even though Colton's, stronger than Dan is right now, right? There's more people who will make the argument for Dan than Will Colton, right? And it's because who Dan is as a person,
Yeah.
right? We talked about it off screen. Dan did a lot for me, even though we never really physically met, but online when I was a nobody and he was the king. Like he took time out of his life to make sure I was okay, right? And I'm sure there's countless other people who have that exact same experience with Dan, right? And that's something that I think we can all take a look at and say, hey, man, and I try to too now, right? I'll have people message me, I'll have people call me at weird hours tonight going through stuff. I always pick up the phone because Dan did it for me.
Hmm.
Right. And I think we need to keep that going moving forward, right? Your Instagram likes, your YouTube videos, your TikToks, I don't think Vine's around, but if that is that, right? That's all cool and shit, and that's a cool way to get sponsors and to like remember. Because at the end of the day, I think it's kind of cool that we can remember this stuff forever, right? We're not like our parents. We don't have to look at pictures. We can go back and hear and see the moment that we're looking at, right? And I think that's a really cool thing about Instagram, and that's why I post what I post. Because one day I'm gonna be old as shit, and I'll be like to my daughter's boyfriend one day, and be like, "Oh, you think you're tough? Oh, hold please," you know,
Yeah.
or "Oh, you think you're tough? Let me show you her stepmom's bench press.
Yeah.
It's 300 pounds," you know. That's a cool thing. Um, But I think at the end of the day, we need to remember, like, hey, like, let's take care of the next guys because I have experience that I didn't have back then that Dan did, and now it's time to pass it on.
Yeah, and like the kind of on a deeper scale, like that's kind of why I started this podcast. It's like I want this to be a lesson. I want people to know these people's stories and how to be a top level lifter, but also be a good person at the end of the day. And yeah, it's cool to hear people's numbers and their experiences and stuff. But when you kind of give all these top level lifters their personality, you get to really see what's kind of behind the curtain. And I'm very selective on who I invite on the show because
Mhm.
I have a good read on people. I can tell who I
Yep.
want to have on the show. Like there's some people that, yeah, cool. They may be top 10. They might be one of the best and maybe sponsored athletes, but like I know who they are. I don't want them on the
Yep.
show. I want people to learn from these people that are good representatives of the sport.
Well, and I think we find that more easily now more than ever. Really, if you think about it, like I look at me, and it's funny that you said that because on my team, right, I know that one day, right, well, probably my daughter's going to get married, and she's going to take some asshole's last name, right? You've probably never met another person with my last name before, right? My last name is most likely going to die with me, right? So my legacy is my team.
Hmm.
I've rejected plenty of people that are incredibly strong people from my team because, like, let's say you message me like, "Hey, man, I want to hop on the team." I'm gonna go look at your posts. I'm gonna see the people you tagged. I'm then gonna message them and be like, "Do you vouch for him?" And if the answer is no, hey, man, appreciate your application. We don't have spots on the team right now
Yeah.
because my legacy is my team. My legacy is my lifting, and I'd much rather be known as the coach than as the lifter who inspired people and helped people get better. Right? And that's a big thing. Like it's funny. Like I'll be at a strongman competition, right? And I'll have athletes competing. And if they're not doing an event, the easiest place to find me is with all their wives. Hey, how's he doing? How's he being at home? Is he doing what he's supposed to be doing?
Hmm.
Good, awesome. Thank you kindly, right? Because if your shit and listen, you can twist this however you want. If your shit ain't good at home, it's not gonna be good on the platform.
Agreed.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you want to use the reason of having a good home life as a way as a reason to be good on the platform, I don't care how you twist it, right? That's the argument of if you feel good from charity, is it a good thing? I don't give a shit. Be good at home, right? And the platform will follow. You can be good for a very short period of time. I've done it when shit's really bad at home, but that burn is real quick
Yeah.
and it won't last.
I agree. And I think this is kind of, we can kind of wrap things up here because um, just one more thing to touch on with that. I think with the whole social media aspect of, I always said it's a very bittersweet thing for powerlifting. Yes, it gives it more light, it gives it more attention, and it gives it kind of people get to see more and get more experiences, and there's more personality behind it than there used to be. Instead of
Yeah.
just looking on powerlifting watch and being like, oh, this guy does this, but now you get to know, oh, this guy has this team, he's friends with
Yeah.
this guy, he's done these meets, he's done this charity, he's raised money, blah blah blah. But I think to wrap things up here, I'll ask you my final question. If you could give a new lifter, someone going to their first meet, a word of advice, what would you tell them?
Delete Instagram. Sorry.
Yeah.
If I could figure out a way to like block everything to do with powerlifting off of every one of my clients' phones, it would be the first thing I'd like. If I got a genie right now, that'd probably be my second wish.
Would be
You
the
know,
first.
the first, I can't say that. That'd be inappropriate. No, I'm kidding. No, I mean the first one's an easy one. Just get rid of hate in this world. To be honest with you,
Yeah.
um, but it'd be pretty close up there because, and I think you're going to understand what I'm saying this having been in this long enough when let's say you're losing weight, right? You step on the scale in the morning, your weight went up, your whole day's ruined, right? Like that. Unfortunately, people get so ingrained in that mentality of I need to do this, this, and this, this, and this. When a small deviation happens, their day's ruined,
Yeah.
right? I see the same thing so many times on powerlifting where I'll have this powerlifter. I have a perfect example. I'm going to name drop you right now, Janet. Janet's this awesome mom. She's strong as shit. She benches like 240 pounds. She's fucked. Okay. I love her. She's great. All right. I'm going to make fun of you right now, Janet. All right. She's getting ready for her first powerlifting meet, and she's way up north. Like she is in the sticks. Okay. I'm surprised they have cell phones up there. All right. And she's training this like commercial gym. And she was referred to me by another client. And I had a message from a client. She's like, hey, Janet's thinking about dropping out of the meet. And at that point in time, I'm pretty sure, and I could be wrong, it was her first meet. She is a master's lifter, sorry. Um, and she was going to bench in the mid twos,
That's crazy.
squat like, and her deadlift and her squat were incredible. And it's because she was thinking, I'm doing so bad, because you log onto the internet and all you see is a million people doing better than you,
Yeah.
right? Stop comparing with other people. Remember, this is your own journey, and it's a really cool journey. Give yourself the grace. You could say, "Oh, one day I want to squat 1,000 pounds, but I'm only at four." Okay, but when you squat 440, it's still a big deal. Give yourself that grace. Stop comparing to others, right? And just focus on you. Get off social media so much. Focus on you. It'll be way more fun.
Yeah, couldn't agree more with you. Well, I wanted to thank you again for taking the time to come on. It was my pleasure.
Absolutely, me too, man. I really appreciate it.
Sweet.